Buongiorno a tutti e benvenuti a questo primo appuntamento con Aspettando MobilitARS. Io sono Paolo Pinzuti, sono l'amministratore di Bikenomist e sono il direttore dell'evento MobilitARS, dell'arte della gestione e la mobilità urbana nel terzo millennio, che si terrà il 26 e 27 maggio a Reggio Emilia, al centro Maraguzzi. Questo è il primo di una serie di 3 appuntamenti col quale incontreremo importanti decision maker e influencer, chiamiamoli così, del mondo della mobilità urbana, dello spazio pubblico, della scienza a livello europeo, per iniziare a entrare nel tema della città senz'auto. La città senz'auto è il focus di questa seconda edizione di MobilitARS, che ricordo a tutti è gratuita, previa registrazione sul sito www.mobilitars.eu. L'ospite di quest'oggi è un personaggio importante che ha saputo creare con leadership un grandissimo cambiamento in una delle più grandi città europee, la città di Parigi. Il suo nome è Christophe Najdovski, è stato l'assessore alla mobilità del comune di Parigi e al secondo mandato della sindaca Hidalgo oggi ricopre il ruolo equivalente a quello che è dell'assessore all'ambiente. Se vedete dei sottotitoli qua sotto, non preoccupatevi, niente di strano, è che adesso cambieremo lingua, passeremo all'inglese, ma potete continuare a seguirci seguendo appunto quello che è scritto nei sottotitoli con la traduzione. La traduzione d'altronde sarà anche disponibile per i partecipanti al MobilitARS, visto che avremo una serie di ospiti internazionali che racconteranno in inglese la loro esperienza e spiegheranno come e perché realizzare città e senza auto. Ma bando alle ciance, passiamo subito al nostro ospite. So, welcome Mr. Najdovski, Mr. Christophe Najdovski. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you for your invitation.
Christophe, may I call you Christophe?
Yes, of course.
Okay. Would you like to introduce yourself to our audience?
Yes, I'm Deputy Mayor of Paris. I was in charge of transportation and mobility policy during the last mandate until 2020. Now I am in charge of revegetation and green spaces.
Okay.
But I always work also on mobility policies, as I can show you with a short presentation and with the discussion that we will have together.
Yeah, okay, great. So I introduce your presentation, which is this one.
Yes.
So, Christophe, just a question. You played a big role in the first mandate of Madame Hidalgo, your mayor, about turning Paris into a people-friendly city, more than car-centric, right? And you know
yes,
that...
it's our role, and it is also our conviction. So we had the conviction that if we want to keep our cities livable, and if we want to have not just car-oriented cities, which was the policy for decades and decades in all our cities where we are living, and if we want to bring more space for people, we had to do something. And that's what we tried to do during these last years in Paris.
Yeah, okay, great. So let's go to your presentation. The stage is yours.
Yes, I have a small presentation with some slides to show you what we try to do in Paris. First of all, I always like to take this example because this is a very busy street in Paris. It's called Rue de Rivoli. Which is one of the most busiest streets in Paris. Until 2019, it looked like this, and now it looks like that. So you can see a big transformation about the design of the streets and of this street. And this is an example of what we are doing today in Paris, a big transformation. This is a radical transformation of a car-oriented city and street to a bike-friendly and people-friendly city. So this is a picture taken a few months ago, and we have the same picture today. It was a temporary bike lane, but now it will be a permanent bike lane, very wide, as you can see, 4 meters for each side. And when you build bike lanes, you have a motto that tells that cyclists will come. And that's the reality. If you put infrastructures for cars, you will have drivers and cars. But if you put an infrastructure for bikes, you will have cyclists. So this is a real indication of what the cities can do, and they can change radically even the most busy streets of their city. I would like also to tell you that we are redesigning the public space. All the squares of our cities were like big roundabouts, and now we are also giving a space to people. This is, for example, the Place de la République. You can see what it was before and what it is now, a big pedestrian zone. That is another example of going towards a car-free city. Another example that I would like to show you is the banks of the River Seine. They were transformed as expressways and highways during the last decades, and now 5 years ago we pedestrianized the banks of the Seine, and the people can be in front of the river, in front of the water, which is also a very important thing with the global warming and the change of our climate. So this is another example of redesigning the public space, bringing back the Riverside Expressway and turning to a pedestrian path instead of having motorized traffic. Here are some other examples of also the need to share space through time. Of course, we can't do everything we would like in just a short period. So we need also sometimes to make things gradually. So that is the reason why, for example, for the Champs-Élysées, we pedestrianize them once a month. We have the aim and the goal to go to once a week, and then why not by the future to have a permanent pedestrianization. But as you can see, it works. We can also pedestrianize also the small streets for the children to have also some events for them. And another example was also what we did with our ring road, the périphérique. During one night, a part of this expressway was also transformed into a festive velodrome during a cultural event called Nuit Blanche. So that these are some examples of what we can do to go towards a car-free city. Of course, we have a car-free day. We introduced it in 2015 when Paris hosted the Paris Agreement about climate, and this was also an example to show that we could, during one day, have a car-free city, and you have this experience, which is done every year during the European Week of Mobility in September. I can show you also other examples of the fact that we need also to work with the people, and especially we have these streets with schools. We call them now rue aux écoles. In Italian, we would say strade alle scuole. That means that we try also to put people on their feet or going to the school with the children on their bikes and not in the cars. So this is another example of what we can do with pedestrianizing the streets and also putting some vegetation. And we have the aim and the goal to have 300 school streets to be pedestrianized with vegetation by 2026 which is the end of our mandate. Here is another example of another street taken in Paris, and you can see this radical change and also the uses that it brings also to people. So moving towards a car-free city is possible. It's a question of political will, I would say, and you can have a lot of different measures from the smallest streets to the biggest avenues and boulevards. So I would like to end my short presentation with these two pictures, because just 5 years ago, these streets, Rue de Rivoli on the left and the bank of the Seine on the right, were full of cars with thousands and thousands of cars every day, and now there are pedestrian zones or zones for cyclists with huge bike lanes. So with the political will, we can make huge changes, and it's not also a political problem, because our mayor, Anne Hidalgo, was re-elected in 2020, despite, of course, the resistances and the discussions that some tried also to say that it will be too radical, but the Parisians voted for that, and they want also more and more these kind of perspectives for their city.
Well, that's wonderful. Thanks a lot for sharing your experience as a mobility mayor in Paris. I have a couple of questions for you right now. And now you are the mayor, the deputy mayor for environment and green, how to say, reforestation, you say, right? Yeah. So may I say that in the first mandate you removed the car, and now you are trying to put to plant trees instead of the cars?
Yes, we can say that. I like the motto that says, imagine every car parked is a tree. So in our streets, the cars took all the space. We had decades and decades of car-oriented cities in which cars took all the space. And now we have also different uses, and we can also remove the cars and just put trees instead of cars. So that is what we are doing now. We have a plan to remove half of the car parkings in the streets by 2026. That means 60,000 parking spaces that will be removed and transformed into planting trees or bicycle lanes or parking for bicycles. So we are continuing this big transformation, because we know also that we have a big challenge about climate change, and this is also part of the transformation of the cities that we need today to face and also to adapt our city to the climate change.
But what's the relation between cars, trees, and climate change?
Well, everyone knows that cars are emitting pollutants, and especially greenhouse gases. Of course, a tree is also keeps the CO2, and if you drive by bike, of course, that you are not emitting nothing. So this is also a part. It's not, of course, the only way of tackling climate change, but we know that the transportation system has a huge impact on global warming, and this is a part of a local and a city political change that we can do in our cities.
Okay, and what was the reaction of your citizens about your changes in the city? I mean, it was a big change, and
yes, it was a big change, but they elected us for that first.
So this was the promise.
They were expecting also this kind of changes.
Okay.
And when we did that changes, it was also an example that is possible. And when people are experiencing the change and the fact that is possible, they want also to continue with us. So we had the chance to be re-elected in 2020 at the local elections with a new platform, continuing this policy and bringing more trees, more vegetation, less and less cars, more space to people, to public transport, to bikes, to sidewalks for pedestrians and pedestrian zones. So that is why we were elected, and that is also what people want today.
Okay, and I mean, as a citizen, if a citizen come to you and say, "What should I do with my car right now?" I mean, you remove of the space for the cars. What should I do with my car, actually?
Well, you can sell it, and you can just use. If you need a car, sometimes maybe we as citizens, we sometimes can need a car. We don't need to own a car. We can just share it with other people or rent a car sometimes when we eventually need a car, but we don't need to own a car. The car is the more inefficient way of moving in our cities. It is polluting, it is not going fast. The average speed of a car is 15 kilometers per hour in Paris, which is the speed of a bike, and the metro is faster. So it takes a lot of space, 10 square meters to move just one person. So that is a very inefficient way of moving. So if we want also to have efficient local policies, we need also to remove the space that was given to cars and to bring it to people for other uses. So there are a lot of possibilities of reusing this space. You can have wider sidewalks, you can put vegetation, so you can do a lot of things with the space that was privatized by the cars and the own cars of persons that are not using them a lot, because you know that a car stays parked maybe 90% of the time. So it's not an efficient way of using the public space. We are doing a more efficient policy with removing cars.
That's great, but I mean, I want to be the devil's advocate right now, and I know that many people which are listening to us right now are thinking, well, that's easy to do in Paris, but we are not living in Paris, and many of your colleagues from Italy are thinking, my city is different, it will never work here. What would you say about that to those people?
Well, I would say that 5 years ago in Paris, nothing could expect, no one could expect maybe this kind of changes and quick and radical changes. Some people said to us, we are not Amsterdam, we are not Copenhagen, we have a different culture. No, it's not a question of culture or genes. It's a question of political will. And if we have the political will, we can do that change in every city of Europe. It's not a question about culture or what. So, of course, every city has its specificities. So, but we can do things step by step and with, of course, a local approach. But if we have the political will, we can do big changes. I saw, for example, that Milano had a great plan about planting trees, for example, which is often quoted here in France. So about vegetation, if Milano has a big political will, other cities can also have a political will about mobility or greening the space. So it is just question of political will.
Okay, so your suggestion for your colleagues in Italy is?
Go on, and don't be scared about the reactions. You will always have resistances, of course, and people who are criticizing your policy are a minority. They are very they are very noisy, but you have also the silent majority of people who are approving this orientation. Of course, you can do it gradually, step by step. It depends of the local background, I would say. But I think that everyone knows today that we are facing big challenges. We want to keep our cities as livable. We had the pandemic with the lockdown, with very difficult situations these 2 last years. To have space to live, they need also to live in the city. So if we want that, we need to give more space to people. So that means less space for cars and more space to the other ways of using the city, and especially for people.
That's great. That's great. So, Christophe, thanks a lot for your time. I'm sorry you won't be with us at MobilitARS in Reggio Emilia, which I remind,
Yes.
26th and 27th May. But thanks for being with us.
Maybe next time.
Maybe next time, maybe next year. I'll switch to Italian to say goodbye to our audience right now. And quindi abbiamo visto il caso di Parigi. Questo è solamente uno degli esempi che volevamo portare a MobilitARS. Alcuni li abbiamo portati, altri li copriamo online. A tutti voi do l'appuntamento per il 26 e 27 maggio a Reggio Emilia in presenza per vedere gli altri 30 relatori che ci spiegheranno perché realizzare città senza auto e come farlo. Grazie a tutti e a presto.